Kia ora, this program is brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Wellington Access Radio, make your voice heard.
Welcome back to the Blackhouse today on 106.1 FM. Modi, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm great.
What did you like about this week? Anything good happen?
Oh, the sun, man. It's hot. It's complicated today. Cold and hot, like typical Wellington.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like it's been...
It was a bit cold day.
Yeah, like I feel like it's been a heat wave.
Yeah.
Heat wave and then freezing cold.
Freezing cold. And then rain from nowhere.
Yeah. It was mad. Like last week when we introduced the barbecue and we're all in here and there's no windows.
Yeah.
And then we go outside, we introduce barbecues at Island Bay and then we get outside and it's pouring with rain. I'm like, maybe that was a bit bit too early. Anyway, we're going to get straight into our show today. We've got a special guest. This almost makes me feel like a real podcaster, like the real deal. I've got like this really massive guest who's done amazing things with amazing people. Look out, Oprah. Oh no, I shouldn't aim that high. No, people are going to shoot me down. They're going to shoot me down on Facebook and stuff. Our guest today has some serious street cred in the music game down under and abroad. She's Afro-Kiwi. Well, I call myself an Afro-Kiwi.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
No.
I don't have a problem. Do you have a problem with it?
No.
No, I don't. I'm quite happy with that word. That flows.
Afro-Kiwi.
It flows together nicely.
It sounds good too.
I think it sounds good.
Afro-Kiwi.
Anyway, and somebody goes, that means you're here. I'm like, yeah, well, if that's the way you want to think. Okay, cool. She's straight out of Welly too. So let me just run off a few of these impressive accolades. She has brought a unique live show to the music scene. She plays her MPC, guitar, keyboards, drums to Europe, Africa and Asia, including slots opening for Grace Jones.
Whoa.
And Erykah Badu.
Oh, my favorite too.
I'm just like aghast. I haven't even seen Grace Jones live, and she was my idol back in the day. Oh. And also her onstage talent and energy has earned her invitations to international festivals, including Glastonbury, Afropunk, Bushfire Festival, WOMAD, Aarhus Festuge in Denmark, and Sori Arts Festival in South Korea. She's headlined sold-out shows in UK, France and New Zealand. She's been twice nominated for the New Zealand Music Awards Best Producer and Critics' Choice Award in 2018 and 2015. And I would like to welcome to the Blackhouse Estere. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's so cool to finally get you here. We've been trying for ages. I'm also after your mate as well, Diva.
Yeah, true.
It's just like this elusive, find Wally, where are you?
Yeah.
So, like, okay, I just want to, we've just kind of run off, like, your entire to date, what would you call that? Your discography and your creative kitty that you have is pretty amazing. Like, how long have you been? Well, before we even get to that, I'm going to ask you how long you've been at this. But first of all, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your genesis story. Like, who's Estere?
So I suppose it starts off with my mum and dad.
Yeah.
And my dad is Cameroonian,
right.
But he moved to France when he was 15 and then subsequently went to New Zealand and met my mum.
Wow, that was a crazy jump from France to New Zealand. Like, was there a reason or?
I think he didn't want to go into the French military.
Oh, yeah.
And he also ended up going to New Caledonia first because it's French speaking, and it's real crazy because New Caledonia is so close to New Zealand. It's only 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But our relationship as a country or nation with New Caledonia is like kind of like not very existent because I think it's that difference between being a French colony and being a British colony.
Yeah.
So my dad ended up in New Caledonia and he didn't like it. He didn't like how the French were treating the indigenous people, the Kanaka.
Yeah.
And he just found it generally like quite racist. So he fled to New Caledonia and came to New Zealand.
Right.
And that's how he...
And that would have been an easy shift from New Caledonia? Because somebody else asked me about Cook Islands, like if you go to the Cook Islands and then you come to New Zealand, like is there a visa thing? Because I don't think there's a visa thing with Cook Islands, but
I'm not actually sure about the ins and outs, but I thought he was on a French passport, so like I think that it's generally quite straightforward to come to New Zealand with a French passport. Yeah.
So, like, how did so he got here, and then what happened?
So, I was born not long after. It was quite a short time period. And then, I grew up in New Zealand, in Aotearoa. I was born on Waiheke Island, and then I moved to
I know about that, yeah.
Moved to Paikakariki.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where my mum's from.
Really?
From Paikok, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, my mum still lives out there.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, you know that street in Paikakariki called Miriona Grove? Mm-mm. That's actually named after a very close friend. Well, basically, it was a cul-de-sac.
Okay.
And my grandparents lived there, and Miriona Grove, the woman lived next door, and somehow she's very connected to my grandpa's side of the family, but I don't know exactly how. Yeah. But Paikakariki, that's a pretty nice little spot. That's
beautiful.
That's where we were living when he was born.
Oh, nice. Yeah. We have that in common.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it out there. And then since then I've kind of just been in between Paikakariki, Wellington, and other places in the world. But those are my main stops. Yeah,
Waiheke. Well, I think Waiheke to Paikok is actually probably a really good move.
Yeah,
because I would imagine I've never been to Waiheke.
Yeah,
but I always thought it was like where all the hipsters lived.
Yeah, I think that Paikakariki stayed more like what it used to be, and Waiheke's changed dramatically.
Has it?
Yeah, it's become very expensive and affluent and very kind of like wealthy people building houses and then not living there for most of the year. Kind of like, well, it's an island.
They gentrified an entire island.
Yeah, it seems to happen with islands. It's like happening with New Zealand. Yeah. The whole of New Zealand's being super gentrified. Yeah, so, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, I know you were at Wellington High School. Yeah. And how did you get introduced into creating music, not just singing and stuff like that?
Well, I actually started off by learning some instruments when I was at primary school. I kind of really wanted to learn an instrument. I wanted to learn how to play guitar at one point. I wanted to learn how to play piano, but I just kind of sucked at learning all of those. Like I would do lessons for 6 months and then, just not do my homework. And I really struggled with the theory side of things. I hated theory and I just didn't want to go anywhere near it.
Yeah.
And then at some point when I was 11, I decided I wanted to learn how to play the drums. And that completely transformed my relationship with learning how to play instruments because it was so much to do with feel.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to learn theory to learn how to play drums. I just had to get my coordination together. But my natural sense of rhythm propelled me to become like quite confident with drumming quite quickly, and I just really loved it.
Yeah.
So that was probably
It's
my
so
first.
much fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun, and
Yeah.
it's so like, you know, when you get into it, it's just like, even if you're not a super technical drummer, you can, you know.
Did you go to drumming competitions? Because I used to go to the drumming competitions.
I did.
And were you the only girl in the room,
Yeah.
or is there?
Yeah, I was the only girl. I competed.
The only
at
girl
drum
with an
wars.
afro as well, I bet.
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely.
So would you say, like, for example, is it drums is your favorite instrument, or?
I'd say it's like drums and bass clarinet.
Bass clarinet. What's a
really
bass
like-
clarinet?
It's like the clarinet, and it's so you know the clarinet is a wind instrument, and it's one of those straight wind instruments, and it kind of makes this kind of medium frequency sound, whereas the bass clarinet, if you kind of like imagine like a smoothed out smoothed out saxophone sound, really low, like boom.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
what a bass clarinet sounds like.
Oh wow.
It's a really cool instrument.
We're just at that point now where we go to our first song. Would you like to introduce the first song?
Yeah, sure.
We've got Calculated Risk. So
Yeah.
you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So Calculated Risk was the first single I released off my newest album, Archetypes. And it's a song that I wrote about having a fear of failure and like not trying things and not doing things because, you know, I'm worried that I'm going to fall flat on my face pretty much. And on a kind of broader scale, I feel like the archetype of fear of failure, especially for women, has always been like in a lot of mythology. So it's like, you know, Adam and Eve, like Eve with the apple. And there's also like quite a lot of Greek mythology, like Persephone, who was the daughter of the god, the goddess of the earth, Demeter. Demeter, yeah. And her, like, you know, her curiosity and her wanting to try something, which was the pomegranate, meaning that she then had to, like, live in the underworld with Hades for half of the year.
Right.
Just stuff like that. It's, like, quite, like, there's heaps of stuff around that. And so I used a lot of the iconography from those kind of stories in the song to kind of...
Are you a fan of the show American Gods? That's on.
I haven't seen it. Is it good?
Yeah, it's third season's out, and Demeter's just turned up.
Oh, so it's like, so they're not really American gods.
No, they're gods that have travelled to America through the immigrants. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
and there's a big war between the technological gods and the gods of the old. But anyway,
That sounds
let's
like a
play.
real cool premise.
It is. But anyway, because you mentioned Demeter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to Calculated Risk by Estere.
I feel them coursing through me, roadblocks in my veins. My big hands are just amateur actors reciting on the stage. And I could try anything, but instead I'm pushing fear calculated the risk. Well, I'm tired of reading the script to a cautionary tale. Freedom bends at the knee if we know that we can fail. Oh, I don't wanna waste time. I don't wanna lose sight of the rising sun. Can a girl just have her fun? That apple shouldn't be picked. That challenge shouldn't be sipped. That sapling shouldn't be kissed. I've calculated the risk. That apple shouldn't be picked. That challenge shouldn't be sipped. That sapling shouldn't be kissed. I've calculated the risk.
And you're back on the Blackhouse on 106.1 FM. We were watching your video, and we were just having a chat about it behind the scenes here. Yeah. So
Interesting.
it was actually one of my favorite videos, I think, of all time, actually, when I think about it. I mean, I love Busta Rhymes, but I actually like the awkwardness of the video.
Like for me, like it
awesome.
was surprised a little bit, because you're the one who showed me the video. I was like, who's this guy? I was like, no, let's check the video. And then when you showed me that, I was like, I like the background, the movement and everything as we were talking. But yeah, what happened with that bowling on the head? Suddenly like as we were talking previous. But yeah, it's quite funny, like cool video. I loved it.
I would like to ask you, how did you come up with that concept? Like, what was the concept behind that? So you were telling us about it behind the scenes, but tell the listeners.
Yeah, so that video, I was trying to think about a way to kind of convey a feeling of deep kind of like discomfort and also like maybe a bit of danger. Like someone in a bit of a dangerous situation, but I didn't want it to be like, I wanted it to be lighthearted and maybe a bit humorous.
Yeah.
So, honestly, like that idea of sitting in a basketball court being surrounded by basketball players, it was so random. It's like one of those ideas that's real random and you can't quite like put a finger on where it came from.
Yeah.
I think my boyfriend was playing a lot of basketball at the time, so maybe that was just...
You wondered what it would be like to stand in the middle of the court.
Yeah, I just wanted to have like a real intense contrast in the video, I think.
I think that comes across really, really well in that video.
Yeah.
Because when I was watching it, I was thinking, this looks like, even though if I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics, I'd think this is like, it was like, that uncomfortableness really came across and awkwardness really came across. And if that was your intent, Yeah,
it was. And also, I think we were also trying to kind of make fun of a lot of the indie music videos.
Right.
Which are often people looking like really depressed, like strumming their instruments and like singing a song, like singing a really emotional, melancholy song.
With no expression.
And it's just like the format for a lot of particularly European indie artists.
Right.
Oh.
And I'm just generally, I get a little, exasperated by that.
Is it like it rolls it out like kind of McDonaldization of that kind of, that genre?
Yeah, and just kind of how it's kind of like standardized but always accepted as like the creme de la creme of indie music.
Right, yeah.
Just because it's someone doing that looking, you know,
You might have
depressed.
you might have conquered that formula then with your little video.
Well, I'm so not that musician that normal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't fit that box at all. So I was just kind of like, I wanted to, especially in that second scene where I'm on the, you know, the stool with the guitar.
Yeah.
That's super.
And you were so serious, like really. I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Flies
and
across your
suddenly
face.
ball flying to your face. I was like, oh man, I'm not even blinking. Cool.
With your deal with your production and stuff, how did you meet the guy from Massive Attack? Like, I know Massive Attack from the early 90s,
Yeah.
maybe late 80s.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think where
Early 90s.
where they fitted in. They were in that area
Yeah,
sometime.
like the trip hop Bristol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always thought of them as kind of like, I think what we called it was kind of new wavy music or
Yeah, true.
house music. Yeah. What do they, are they, like, how did you connect? Like, how did that happen?
So I met Stu is his name through a mutual friend, Lisa, because I did a songwriting camp in Brighton,
Right.
like in 2018, and worked with a bunch of producers, and I met Lisa. She became a friend, and then when I was looking to co-produce this album, I went to her and asked if she knew anyone who would be a good fit. And I'd already started making these demos that sounded kind of like early 90s trip hop.
Right.
Like the demos I was making for these songs sounded like that kind of area of music. And so I think she thought it would be quite a good fit. And then I was like, yeah, that would be cool. So I contacted Stu and he was keen to work.
That would be called a coup.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
He's so understated about it. It's so cute. I would have thought, like, because they had a massive, prolific kind of presence in that time.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And still, you know, they're kind of a pioneering band, Massive Attack. Books have been written about them and stuff because they're part of that whole group. There's also like Portishead and I can't remember the other ones, but there's kind of a group of them all from Bristol, you know, all part of that really kind of ambient, atmospheric, very almost dark, you know.
Because it definitely wasn't my kind of music.
Yeah.
But it was always around you.
Yeah.
Like, it was always being played on the radio. It was always, you know, like you'd hear it when you're walking through the groceries doing your shopping.
Yeah.
That would be in the background. So, like, it was just everywhere.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't sort of say, oh, I don't know what Massive Attack is. Like, it's impossible. Yeah, but you know, you only got it. and to be honest,
I only knew them today. I was like, oh, who's Massive Attack? So,
to be honest, you know, and I know that Africa completely skipped the 80s.
Oh, right.
They went straight from the 70s to the 90s. So yeah, they did. Even in fashion, it's really funny. They go straight from flares and skin tight shirts to the baggy pants. The whole 80s section is missing.
It's missing.
That's funny.
And I've said, I'm not surprised. I wish I missed the 80s too, but yeah. So, can you tell us a bit about Lola? I mean, actually, that's a question that I'd like to hand over to Sounds over here.
Yeah. Mr.
Sounds.
Just wanted to ask you, just for the producers out there, who's Lola?
Lola is my MPC 1000.
Oh, crazy.
So what is that?
It's like
this?
No, it's not like it's like a drum machine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you think that's what? Awesome.
Oh, it just reminds me of it's sort of like what Kanye sort of uses.
Yeah, he uses I think he's got an MPC in his arsenal.
Yeah, like I think the Graduation, like for all the Kanye vans, get one of them for your drums.
So it's an MPC 1000.
Yeah. It's got the great thing about MPCs, and I've recently fallen back in love with the MPC in general is like it has that natural kind of compression, which just makes things sound fat. You know, like
The sound sounds bigger than it actually is, or or just fills it out a bit more.
It just makes it sound just cleaner, I guess.
Cleaner, not less tinny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh well, we're learning something, huh?
Yeah.
I don't want to like nerd out on the radio station.
I'm all for it.
So go on.
Because when you guys were talking about Massive Attack, it really reminded me of like what Majid Jordan and them are doing right now. I don't know if you're listening to Majid Jordan or anything like that. It's sort of like signed to Drake. They're an OVO signee to them, to Drake. But
Okay.
it's very, I was listening to some of Massive Attack song. It's very ambient music in the background that you probably wouldn't expect to hear. Like, it's sort of like, if somebody would bring it up, it's like, it's just really cool, chill music.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've been into like lately. That's why it's like, it sort of remind me of Majid Jordan. But
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
MAJID and then Jordan.
Majid.
Well, we're going to go to our second song break now. And do you want to interview? It's that one, Mad About Your Sea. And you can tell me or us, our listeners, about how you came to do this song.
So Mad About Your Sea, I wrote just on the piano, and it's very minimal. I started off with adding a bit of beats production, but it just kind of works as a more like a ballad, a piano ballad. And I wrote it about addiction, like in a relationship, or like the idea of being addicted to someone who isn't good for you, or a dynamic that's not good for you, but kind of just being surrounded in the ocean and finding it hard to
Kind of like
get out.
codependency.
Yeah, and the idea of like, you know, being dry or not being dry, you know, and that metaphor with the ocean and also with different types of addiction. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to play Mad About Your Sea by Estere.
I knew I had to be so careful the first time I met him. He spoke of the Mediterranean, and it was like he had it inside. Oh, there's something bad about your sea, so gravitational, it pulls me until I'm under. Caress him, his body of water, my fingers reach over the waves. He said I tasted the Atlantic and somewhere else that he couldn't place. I wanted to try and make you feel better, to hang it all on a line. I wanted to try and make you feel better, but you don't wanna get, you don't wanna get, you don't wanna get dry. He spills into all of my memories of Saint Malo and the call of Berlin. I wept in the Mediterranean, and it was like I had him inside. Oh, there's something that about your sea, so gravitational, it pulls me. I wanted to try and make you feel better, to hang it all on a line. I wanted to try and make you feel better, but you don't wanna get, you don't wanna get, you don't wanna
And we're back on the Blackhouse at 106.1 FM. Look, I listened to your album about 3 times last night. I was just like fascinated with these tracks that, you know, some of the tracks that we're not playing today, but also the tracks that we are playing today. And personally, it reminded me so much, and I don't know if you've had this comparison before, but to Kate Bush's kind of ethereal sort of storytelling, if you know what I mean. Have you ever had that comparison made?
I have.
You have?
Yes.
I don't know how you feel about that, because I don't know. Back in the day, we didn't have social media, so I don't know if she's like a complete whack.
It's a huge compliment.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't need to worry. It's a huge compliment. She's still considered like an absolute pioneer in music.
Because
so.
I'm watching your videos, I'm listening to you and not watching your videos, and I'm just seeing that whole storytelling, operatic thing she does with her tones going up and down, and like I'm really, you know, like your mum. No, not your mum. You had a conversation with your grandmother, right, about Jung. And I'm really curious, because I know that he's influenced you in some way when it comes to the album. But I'd really like to know what it was about his theories that got your attention. What was that thing that made you want to do that?
Well, I think for me, like, maybe it's because I have grown up agnostic, so without like a particular religion. I'm always looking for meaning in life, and I think that's probably the same for a lot of people, and so one way that I tend to do that is look at different life philosophies and different kind of theories and concepts, and when I discovered Jung, I kind of did a little bit of digging and really liked some of the ideas that I found, and
what in particular, which ideas in particular that resonated with you?
I liked the focus that he had on dreams and understanding the subconscious.
Right, yeah.
So writing down your dreams and then learning the different symbologies of your dreams. I loved that. I also really liked the idea of archetypes, that there are, and it made sense to me, but that there are collective patterns that we all have experienced.
And we all recognise as kind of a reality, but something that's not really proven. It's kind of weird. I know what you mean. It was really, like, I found Jung in sociology, when I think back about it, that he was difficult to it was philosophy we came across.
Cryptic.
He's cryptic, very cryptic about everything.
Very cryptic about everything, It took me, like, I was like, I want to write this album, Archetypes, I want it to be a concept album. And then it took me, like, 5 books
to get through.
To get to a point where I, like, vaguely understood what he meant and what he was saying.
Because he does deal, like, it just seems like he does. What I was just had to wiki everything. You know, my wiki book is like quite extensive, but you know, like when you learn all these things in philosophy, it almost like it melts your brain. That's what it feels like. And we got thrown a lot of these different philosophers at philosophy and in philosophy and in sociology. And it's all these different ideas can really become, you know, in your head. And I had to quickly look it up on Wikipedia, and I remember that thing about the archetypes, and at the time I remember thinking at the time, learning about Jung and thinking about tarot cards.
Yeah, very much related to tarot cards.
Yeah, so that's like a lot of those, the symbolism that they have in tarot cards is like the archetypes.
Yeah.
You know, so you got, what was it, the something
foal,
mother,
the mother, the maiden, the old man. And it's interesting because you can look at it cross-culturally, like you can look at any culture and you can find those kind of same things within the myths that they have. You know, so like, and it, you know, you could say in Māori culture, for example, like the myth of Maui, and like what that represents on an archetypal level, you know, like he's like a discoverer, he's like an explorer, he's a initiator, you know, all those like things.
And with Dwayne Johnson as his backing track, he's actually a comedian. Yeah,
Because
that too.
Hawaii's got Maui as well, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Maui's like goes right across the Pacific, I think.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
yeah. So like, there's all these different, like, and so, what was that conversation like with your grandma? Like, because I read in your bio about you having a conversation with your grandma about Jung.
Yeah. Well, she'd been reading Jung for years, and I hadn't really been interested or paid much attention. Like, that was just something she was into, and she'd read a lot of his work. And then when I started talking to her about it, she had quite a respect for him as a psychologist, I think, because he's just a kind of unique mind. But to be honest, like I'm always wary of advocating too much for Jung, because I think, you know, he was also quite problematic.
Yeah.
You know, like when it came to African people, for example, and, you know, what they represented for him, like he was coming from a white Swiss, you know, perspective from the 1800s.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine.
Yeah.
You know, and
that kind of analysis of somebody in that era, in that time, they probably didn't even think they had a soul, because Jung focuses on the ego and the soul, right?
yeah, he just kind of, like, I can't remember exactly the things he said, but I've come across it in his work reoccurringly whenever he talked about people who are African or like black. It was always like not the same.
Right.
And what really sucks about that is that if he really followed his own theories and it's kind of like his theories outshone him.
Right.
As a person, it's like his theories got to a certain point, a certain height that he could never reach.
Right,
And so it's like he couldn't actually live by his own philosophies. And I think you'll probably find that in a lot of like pioneering thinkers.
Especially of that era.
That they are hypocritical. They're hypocrites.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And Jung was definitely a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I liked some of the things that I found in his work. And I found actually some post-Jungian psychologists, like there's this woman called Fanny Brewster who's African-American.
Right.
And it just needs to be addressed, you know, like those problems. They need to be addressed in post-Jungian work so that the theories that are you know, quite amazing can continue to develop and leave behind the stuff that's like, you know,
Yeah.
crap. The stuff that's like crap.
I know it's going right over this person's head, but I'm with you, sister. I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
So,
I just live to you guys because I'm like, this young, I'm trying to get it, but yeah.
but you wanted to ask us something else, actually. So I'll let you go.
I just want to jump on and ask you about what is it did you find with your travels, with your music thing, like during your tours around Europe and your life in general? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
So I was lucky to have gotten the opportunity to tour quite early on in my career because I did this random music expo. I don't think they do them anymore, not that I know of. And I went up to Auckland and I played like a 10-minute showcase. And this was like a year after I'd gotten Lola and started producing with Lola. And I got invited from that showcase to go to Denmark and South Korea to play at festivals. So those were the first 2 international shows I did. And then since then I've like toured Europe 3 times. I've done 2 tours of Southern Africa. So I've done like Swaziland, South Africa and Mozambique. I've like toured to New Caledonia. Done like shows in Australia, all over New Zealand. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Awesome.
I think I've got a question, just like just producer questions. What DAW do you use?
I use Logic and Pro Tools.
Yes, Logic Gang.
What is a door?
What is that? What is that?
What is a door?
A digital audio workstation. a door into the other sonic world.
I'm like, is that where he goes?
Yeah.
He goes through the door.
Yeah.
That's why we don't see him.
He definitely goes through the door.
Yeah, that's why I don't like nerding out. As like female producer in the New Zealand scene, do you think there should other female producers? Do you think there should be more in the scene? I think there should be more.
What do you think? Is that the question?
Yeah, but what do you think?
I think that there should be more. I think that there are more emerging, and that should is becoming and is, but slowly. So yeah, I definitely think that. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. You read the stats and it's like there are like 0.2% female producers that are black.
Oh, shit.
So
In
it's
the
like,
world or just in New Zealand?
like on a kind of broad industry scale. So that's mainly America and the UK, but I think most of the world can be taken into account with those stats.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it is percent-wise for black males, but I'm sure it's much less than white males. So the whole statistics when it comes to production, I think needs like
Complete overhaul.
yeah, and I feel like, you know, it's all kind of a runoff from you know how our world up until very recent used to be. There used to be so many more limitations on people who weren't white and who weren't male. And so yeah, I think that in many ways we're starting to like really address those issues, but I've definitely been and continue to be, but less so an anomaly in the production world.
Yeah. Another question from me. Yeah. Now, I just want to check with you, like, what's the challenge you're facing as a being producer and writer and also singing at the same time? So, like, what challenge are you facing? Because as we know, the question was before, there's not many female producers, you know?
Yeah.
And so what sort of challenge are you facing, George?
I think some of the challenges are, like, almost being too busy.
Oh, right.
Like with the creation.
But is it not that good thing, though?
Yeah, I like it. But I reckon, you know, it's good to, like, for example, when I perform live, like if I've got a band now, but for years I was just so busy on stage trying to do everything. The other challenges I face, well, I've been a producer in some circumstances where I've worked with like other people in the room who've constantly questioned my decisions, which is really annoying. And I'm quite like, having to push back from that. It's just a little bit of a bore.
Yeah, it could get exhausting. But we're gonna. This is really interesting, and I'd like us to continue after the next song. So, would you like to introduce this next song, Into the Belly of Capricorn?
Yes.
Oh, no, sorry. Mad. Into the Belly of Capricorn. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Into the Belly of Capricorn is the song off the album Archetypes that I think best summarises everything that I wanted to achieve on the album, which is, you know, I wanted to interweave those ideas about kind of shared human experiences, and I wanted to also I wanted to tell stories, and I wanted to use harmony, and I wanted to use a mix of kind of folk and electronica, and I feel like Into the Belly of Capricorn is the song that best does that, and it's a song about childhood and kind of losing your inner child. Yeah.
Well,
Sweet.
coming up right now, Into the Belly of Capricorn by Estere.
Still in nature, angels fall. You are the breath with which I call. Empty-handed, unafraid. to reject you, threatened by your simple truth, but you held up your pure palms, tattooed with a billion hearts. You said life is an emperor until you lose the child. Take back your innocence, let your hair grow wild. If you forget me, bury me below. In dusty archetypes, my memory will glow. Take my hand and we'll go dancing into the valley of Capricorn. In the wind under our sails, we'll take all of our chances into the valley of Capricorn. Take my hand and we'll go dancing into the valley of Capricorn. With the wind under our sails, we'll take all of our chances into the valley of Capricorn.
And you're back. This is the last section of the Blackhouse on 106.1 FM. Sometimes I forget where I am. Hey, we're going to do some shout-outs right now. First of all, we're going to send out some condolences to our co-host that's normally here, to Pater and her family. Our thoughts and prayers go out to your whānau at this very sad time, and we wish your family love and peace during this time. We're all thinking of you out there, Pater,
We do.
Winnie, your mum, Tino, and your other brothers and sisters. It's really sad what happened.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, Estere, I'm just going to pass this over to you. Tell us about your tour dates. What the ones that you're down and around Wellington. Oh, actually, before we get to that, I'm going to do tonight. Raz Judah and Culture Embassy is tonight at 10 p.m. It wasn't last week. Sorry,
Oh, yeah,
guys.
last week we shot
Yeah,
on the
I had to do a retraction. I had to do a retraction on the page. But anyway, it's tonight at 10 p.m. till midnight. Free entry at Havana Bar in Wigan Street in Wellington. And also next Thursday, Takunda Mazondiwa will be doing spoken word at the Fringe Bar on 28 Allen Street in Wellington on Thursday, February the 4th, 7:30 p.m. $5 at the door. Get out and support our spoken word poets. And Estere, tell us about the tour dates coming up.
Yeah, so I've got a show in Wellington at Meow on the 26th of February, and I'm going to be playing with an awesome live band. I've got Zoe Moon on stage
cool.
with me,
Yes.
singing harmonies and dancing.
Yes.
And then an amazing musician called Ben Lemmy who plays in Trinity Roots and French Rabbits, among other bands. And then someone called Corey Champion as well, who's going to be playing drums. And then we're also playing at Splore on the 27th, so the date after our Wellington show.
Where is Splore?
Splore is kind of close to the Coromandel, like between the Coromandel and Auckland.
Okay.
And then the other show that's within this region will be on the 27th of March at the Stomach in Palmerston North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any Palmerston North listeners, she'll be coming to Palmerston North, guys.
Yeah,
Get out there and support our girl.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So do you guys want to go on about the technical stuff, the technical side of things that I'm not that good on, just like Instagram.
Who would you say that like really inspired like your sound, or was it just you just from the jump? Or
Yeah, I first probably really got into the electronic sound of things through Little Dragon.
Oh, true. Okay.
Yeah, really like Little Dragon's production, which I suppose is quite 80s synth, you know.
Yeah.
Like pretty big drums and bass, but still quite poppy.
Yeah.
And then, like, over the years, I've gotten into different producers. Like, I got into this producer called Clap Clap, who does this song called Ashiko. You should check it out. It's quite cool.
All right.
And I've been inspired by, like, other producers. At the moment, I'm really into El Guincho.
El Guincho.
He produces for Rosalia. You know Rosalia? She's the Spanish pop star.
She's done stuff with Travis.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he does all her production, and he also produces for this awesome artist who's like Congolese Belgian. Her name's Luce in the Yakuza.
Oh, yeah. She was on Colours. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he does all her production.
Oh, crazy.
And it's really like all the artists he works with. It's just like so cool.
Wow.
And yeah, but I definitely like there'll be one song, you know, like I have a playlist that I used.
Weren't you on Colours for?
No, I haven't been on Colours.
I thought, damn.
This is definitely.
Are you gonna do Colours, or do you have to be invited to do
You
Colours?
have to be invited. I haven't been invited yet.
Come on, Colours.
Yeah. Come on.
What's wrong with you guys? You gotta get this girl on your show. Who are Colours? Who's Colours?
They're basically just they're a visual arts Is it a visual arts company or?
I'm not sure.
But they
New Zealand one or
No,
overseas?
Belgium.
It's Berlin.
Berlin. Oh, yeah.
Maybe it is Belgium, but I think it's Berlin.
Yeah, I think it's
Berlin
Berlin.
thing, yeah.
Yeah. So they get artists on there and they like do like
Yeah.
just their songs on there. They do like a live performance.
Okay.
Yeah. and it's
So
just
how do we
colours.
get you nominated to go on Colours? Like, what do we have to do? Do we have to tag them in our posts? Like, what do we do?
Well, that would be a start, probably.
That'll be a start.
Get their
All right. So
attention.
every time we mention Estere, do we go hashtag Colours?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll probably do it.
Like, okay, all right, that'll do it. So that's the campaign, Wellington.
awesome.
If we're going to
maybe
get
just-
this,
I think Reza Beezer was on there. Probably he's got the hook.
well, okay, well, even Reza Beza, why aren't you doing it? And also, what we can do is everybody, every time you click on Estere, you've got to hit hashtag Colours. That's the campaign,
That's the
guys.
campaign.
That's this week's campaign. Come on, get into it.
Love it.
Quick last
Community
question for me. I'll be asking, you mentioned that you have a band, is that right?
Yeah.
What's the name of your band right now?
So the band, like, they have individual names, but at the moment they play with me
Oh, right.
as Estere, so I'm still Estere.
You're still Estere.
Yeah.
Okay, Estere and the band.
Yeah.
All right, so
We should ask them if they want to have a band name, though. They could come up with one
Do you-
themselves.
Do you have congas in your band? Because I think he's actually doing an audition right now.
Oh, really?
Because
kind of like it. Could you
Yeah.
please give me that?
He's a drummer.
he's a drummer.
Yeah, I'm trying
Ah, cool, yeah.
drummer and some African instrument like malimba. And
I love
marimbas,
malimba.
Yeah, so those are the things like I've been doing a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, but anyway, not about me.
Yeah, it's not about you.
That's awesome. That's great to know. Maybe I can sample you.
Oh, sweet. Sounds good.
There you go.
Awesome.
That would be cool.
Look at this. Oh, right here on the Blackhouse, folks.
Only you.
So like basically, like I really enjoyed you being here. There's lots of more things that we could talk about before you go. I was just wondering, do you get on stage and play your drums as well? Because I started playing drums when I was 11 too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I used to go to the drum competitions, and I was the only girl in the 70s wanting to drum. It was so funny.
Good for
And I
you.
gave it up because I was like, why are there no girls here? But I'm always in awe of chicks getting into, especially drumming. I've always I gave it up, but when I get behind a
You
drum
love
kit,
it when you see it.
yeah,
And you love it when
I
you do
can
it.
sort of like if I sit there for a little while, it'll come back. Some little bits,
Yeah, for sure.
But the drums are such a cool instrument for girls. I think more girls should play it. Have you seen that young girl that's doing a lot of? She's a drummer and she's about
the
9.
rockstar girl, eh?
Yeah.
Rockstar rock music. I don't know.
Have you seen her on social media? She's
I think so, yeah.
yeah,
She's
really young
amazing.
Black American girl. Yeah, and her drumming skill. Are you at that level? Like,
No.
not yet.
No.
Are
And
you
I don't
aiming
think
for
I
it?
ever will be.
Why not?
Oh, I don't practice drums enough. It's not I write songs and I sing and I produce more than I drum.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're coming up to the last minute. We're going to play the last song. Do you want to introduce this last song and then we're out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Animal Pleasure.
So this song is Animal Pleasure and it's all about desire.
All right. So we want to thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you for
Estere.
having me. It's been really fun.
And we're hope you can come back sometime.
Thank you.
And this is Animal Pleasure, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Knees. And I got good friends for company, but the wolf inside craves something more. So I guess that's what I'm at the party for. Oh, I want pleasure, animal pleasure on a regular. I want pleasure, animal pleasure on a regular. Like the demon they call Lilith, sets a bad example in every myth. Oh, I go scouting for somebody ready to lay the weight under me. Princess needs a pencil. He comes and puts him in my mood. Baby, I want pleasure. Animal pleasure on a regular. I want pleasure. Animal pleasure on a regular. Long time when you working 9 to 5. Need a little pleasure to remind you
That program was brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Get your voice heard.
Thanks New Zealand On Air for funding accessmedia.nz. .nz. 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 .nz.